reduce the 1% sales tax that goes to the schools, the Williamson County school system. You can't reduce the state's 5% sales tax. You can't reduce the county's 1/4 cent sales tax that is coming in. The city has 2.5% sales tax. Of course, our rate overall is 8.5 cents. But out of that 8.5, only 2.25 comes to the city. Now, as I said, we live and die in Marion City government on the revenue generated by the sales tax. This is one of the reasons, on top of the fact we want the jobs, that we have been aggressive to get business, new business, keep expanding. If we ever stop, we'll die. Every community is moving. It's moving forward, it's moving backward. The community that wants to maintain the status quo is dead. It just hasn't had the funeral.
We've been talking a little bit about taxes that people in Marion pay. And when you get your property tax bill, the portion from the city of Marion, it's just a tiny amount of what you're paying. Most of it goes to schools.
2/3.
What in the world could a mayor do about that? And is that part of all the lawsuits between you and the school districts?
Oh, well.
Tell us what this is all about.
Okay. The school district, of course, in the view of many, has mismanaged their funds. And it doesn't matter how much money they get.
That's what Ron Osmond's saying, his political action.
Well, yeah, that's true. And of course, there are those that think he's got a personal axe to grind, and I don't know, maybe he does, but the facts are the facts. Somebody told me that the school district has over 14 administrators making over $100,000 a year. Well, I don't know if that's true, and even if it is true, I don't know how much bearing that has to do with the school's fiscal condition. But they keep running out of money, and they keep grasping at straws, just like the drowning man. He's grasping for anything, and so they have sued the city over our TIF districts. They claim that the city has withheld $7 or $8 million from them. There's nothing further from the truth, and I think if you ask them in private, they tell you that they know that isn't right. We believe, and we think the facts will prove that perhaps the city will owe them $250,000. And if so, we have no problem. We pay, and the money is on hand. We take care of that. So the sad part about it is the attorneys for the school board and the attorneys for the city,
they're all making money.
But between the two of them, the two firms, they've probably taken in $700,000-800,000. And as I've indicated, the school district will not receive, can't get more than 200 or 250. The only people gaining anything in this whole scenario are the attorneys. Well, I don't begrudge attorneys making an honest dollar. That is, if they ever do. But I have no complaint about that. Every workman is entitled to his fair compensation.
How long has the litigation been going on?
Too long. And I would hope the thing could be resolved before too much longer.
Well, the city's a defendant in this.
Oh yeah, sure. We're defending, and you know, one of my opponents has said the city has been sued so many times over 50 years, and it's cost so much money. Well, you know, anybody can sue anybody. When somebody sues the city, whether it's a legitimate claim or not, we have to defend it. We can't just sit there idle. Now, what they don't say is how many lawsuits the city has started. Minimal, practically down to zero. The only time that we would file a suit is when it is just absolutely necessary, even then we're going to look at it twice. But I get so tickled. One of the candidates said that, oh gee, the city settled some lawsuit for $1 million. We have never settled a lawsuit for $1 million. And the city has got insurance to take care of claims that are filed against us. So we pay premiums for the insurance, but that's it. That's it. So
an independent auditor, if they really wanted to find out how much money is it, 200 or 300,000, independent auditor could come in, take a look at this, make a ruling, and
we've
move on from there.
We've had that done, and that's how I come up with a figure. I mean, I'm not pulling things out of my hat. No. It tickles me when one of the candidates says the city has been trying to protect itself from malpractice. Well, there's no, a doctor may have malpractice, a lawyer may have malpractice, but a city has liability. The city doesn't practice anything, it doesn't have malpractice. And just another little indication of how far out in left field some of these are.
I guess there's a perception, and Stephen, you cover, Marion, among some people that certain types of crime are in the increase in Marion, things involving drugs, things that involve more violent outcomes. Are you concerned about that, and what are the police doing?
Oh, well, it's interesting that you would bring that up, because just was it last night or night before last, due to the investigations of our police department operating with the SIG people, they raided the bookseller.
Mm-hmm.
And perhaps you
we've had that in the paper.
Oh, okay. So there are a lot of things like that that our people are on top of and doing. Now, our violent crime rate is not increasing. I get amused sometimes when they come out with national statistics. Maybe last year we had one homicide. This year, maybe we had 2. Violent crime went up 100%. What is happening in Marion? See, we have the most professional police force right now that Marion has ever had. We have 24 uniformed officers and a total of 32 people in the police department. Now, does this mean that we wouldn't like to have more? Sure, we'd like to have more. But by the same token, you have to maintain some kind of balance. You see, to train and put a policeman and keep a policeman on the streets is going to cost you roughly $100,000 a year. Now, if we hire 3 new policemen, we're talking about an expenditure of $300,000. Now, just where is that going to come from? And you cannot look at that in isolation, because you have to look at every other department and what is going on. And then every year, employees expect a pay raise. And of course, if you give 50 cents an hour raise, that might only amount to 2 or 2.5% of their wages. But that is only the tip of the iceberg. because you have all the other things that have to be paid because you increased that rate by 50 cents. Pension goes up, workman's compensation rates go up, and that's something else. The legislature's got to get some backbone and do something about that.
We're hearing things too about unpaid property taxes, including Rent One Ballpark didn't pay their taxes. Circuit City doesn't pay their taxes. The mall doesn't pay their taxes.
Well,
what's that all about?
Well, you know, that it really is not a city problem. That is not officially. It is a personal business problem with each of these. Now,
is it true? Did Rent One Ballpark not pay their taxes?
Oh, well, they've been very slow. Back a couple of 3 years ago, somebody told me that Rent One Ballpark real estate tax of roughly $250,000 hadn't been paid, and it was about to sell for taxes. And they thought that I ought to know about it. So I got hold of the team treasurer, and I said, hey, you're going to have your ballpark sold for taxes. Why don't you go pay your bill? He says, by golly, I've got the money in the bank, I just haven't got around to it. Is that any way to run a Navy? Well, he went over to the courthouse and he paid his taxes. The baseball operation has been profitable. Now, that isn't to say that they don't have a problem with their debt service, because that is in addition to the cost of maintaining and operating the baseball thing. But that is something I have no explanation for. Why would a trader sit on the money instead of writing a check and simply walking over to the courthouse and paying the bill? You ask him. Now, you asked about Circuit City. I'm sure that the owner, well, it may have transferred. The last I heard, the owner of the Circuit City property was in Canada. But it doesn't matter where they are, they know that there's going to be property taxes that have to be paid. And so, at some point in time, they will come forward. Now, there are those people who, for some reason, will allow their property to be sold for taxes. That they would have, in their mind, a legitimate business reason to do that. So, I do not believe that you're going to have a $100 million facility go down the tubes for failure to pay the real estate tax. Somebody will step in and take care of that. Now, you mentioned the mall. The mall operation, I think it's coming along now. It has a new owner. He bought the mall for taxes. And he, of course, had to assume some bonded indebtedness when he did that. And so his property tax was running about, or the property tax was running about $800,000 a year. Well, it was very difficult for whoever owned it to generate that kind of money plus operating expenses to make it work. And I understand that there's been an attempt by him to get the assessed valuation of the mall reduced. And if he can get it reduced, then he should be able to make the mall viable, make it work. And so, all three of these things you talk about are going to survive. But I don't think there's any doubt. Now, what was it? I saw something about candidates Benton for mayor. And one of the candidates, they had his picture on the TV, and he